50-50 men, in my experience, have been not just stingy in money, but stingy in their care, their attention, their affection, their time.
Why do we have to settle for one or the other?
It's not necessarily just that they pay, it's how it represents their character behind it.
This is what I mean, though. Like, it's not for me about the money. Like, it's about the mindset that people have. Hello, Trauma Agora fans. Welcome back to another episode of us three trying shit on the internet. Today we're going to talk about a topic which has been coming up a lot in our private conversations, and especially for me recently. Like, I was the one that raised this topic around should men pay on the first dates, and the whole thing around like 50-50, should it always be 50-50, should the man pay more, etc. Because I recently moved to Spain, as probably most of you know, and here the culture is very like 50-50, and that's been an interesting transition for me as a Slavic woman who in my half, because I'm half English, half Russian, being half English, half Russian has been an interesting transition, because in Slavic culture it's very much like the man always pays like the whole relationship, and obviously in England I'd say it's a lot more 50-50. In Spain I'd say it's even way more so. So it's kind of interesting to navigate, for me personally, those two cultures, like the shift of moving here, and just in terms of society, like what the conversation is around it. So guys, what do you think? Because we had a pretty heated debate about this offline before. So what are your initial takes? Should the man pay on the first date?
I think we need to establish our positions, don't we? So like, Nina, you're pro men paying on the first date, correct? Okay.
Yes.
The stance from Jake, you go, and then I'll say mine, like just top line.
Yeah.
Stance.
Mine is that the woman should pay on every date. No, I'm joking. I'd say mine is, it's nuanced, and the reason why, obviously we'll go to it deeper in the episode, but mine isn't necessarily, unconditionally men should pay, that's it. Or at least that was the stance that we had going into the offline conversations. Yeah, I'm not sure, Emily, if you're like a middle ground or a mediator or both in this conversation.
I think I'm going to probably sit as a mediator for this. I've led quite a few heated debates in the past, but I think I actually err more to the side of it should be, that's my like assumption and kind of like cultural conditioning at the moment. But I think, yeah, Jake, I'm very much like you, it's nuanced. So let's get into it. So Nina, give us a bit more of a background on like Slavic culture, why things are kind of like the way they are, and also like that transition for you as well. I think is really important to like pick out those key moments for when you were like, oh God, Jesus Christ, like this is really different, and why it feels different.
I think it's a lot due to culture and upbringing, because obviously I was brought up in the UK and I always had the same mindset as you am, like almost my whole life. I had that same mindset of like it should be 50-50. That's the like kind of how it is in our media. That's the way we're brought up. We're conditioned. We're brought up that paying 50-50 is feminist, which we'll get into. That was a point of contention for us of is it feminist or anti-feminist to let the man pay. So yeah, I think I was always brought up with that mindset. And then I have to say, obviously I was around Russian culture a little bit with my mum being Russian, but here in Spain is the first time I have a Russian group of friends in my life. So I think that has been very influential on me, and in some good ways and some bad ways. In terms of like the Russian mindset, it's very traditional. It's very, then obviously there's downsides of that. It's very, the man like courts you, the man puts in effort, pays for things. Like for example, this is what my Russian friends told me, by the way. I'm not this extreme, but this is apparently the dating rules in Moscow, that the man has to pick you up in a car on the first date with flowers, otherwise you don't go. I'm just passing
things to say about that.
I'm just passing on that information. Like, I'm not that extreme. But yeah, that's kind of the standard. But I think it's good to have these high standards in some ways.
I love that. Like,
I think super cool, to have those high standards and like not have anything less. And then obviously there's the other argument of like, is it materialistic? Is it this? Like, or is it just having very high self-esteem and like having a high standard for yourself and wanting men to match that standard? So that's a whole debate. But Yeah,
Nice.
basically since I came here, I have been around these like Russian friends a lot more, and it's quite interesting because the way that I see it now, especially I think coming to Spain has really highlighted to me the contrast because I think Spain is even more 50-50 than the UK, to the
Mm.
point where like the women will often be like apparently the women here will get offended if you give them flowers because they think it's anti-feminist.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
interesting.
Yes, like for International Women's Day, for example, International Women's Day was in March, and it's in Russian culture to receive flowers on that day. It's really nice. Like the police, like on in Russia, like give out flowers for free to women in Moscow. Yeah, it's kind of part of the tradition. And then I was having conversations about it here, and everyone was like, if I got flowers, I would throw them away,
Oh,
especially on
wow.
International Women's Day. And I was like, okay, for me, that's like a
Oh.
small, nice bit of chivalry, but that's just an example of how
Mm.
the culture here is a lot more, 50-50. And I think also in the way that women are a lot more proactive, I have to say, like, it's not unusual for a woman to approach a man, for example. Like in my rules of dating, like, especially the Slavic side, it's like, I would never send the first message. I would never make the first move. Like, it's up to the man to ask me out. It's up to the man to approach me, etc. But I think here it's a lot more like the woman can make the first move, can approach you. It's a lot more of a open culture around sex as well. Like I find that it's very normal to sleep together on the first date, for example, which is very weird for us, for the Slavic side, because yeah, like even for Slavic people, it's like you wouldn't even kiss on the first date. It's
Mm.
very like because it is so a lot more traditional. It's very gradual. So yeah, that's kind of the idea on the Slavic side of like the man should court you, the man should look after you, and it's not just financially, it's in general. And then the
Mm.
idea is though that when you're in a relationship, usually, I mean, if you're super traditional, but it's not always like this, the man will be working and then the woman will be at home with like the looking after the house, looking after the kids, whatever. Again, it's not always like that. But for me, that's the
Mhm.
downside of that kind of mindset because I would always still want to work. For example, I would always want to keep making my own money. So it's interesting having those contradictions. But yeah, what do you guys think on the points I said so far?
I have like a deeper question underlying it because you're talking about the cultural differences between UK, Spain, and Russia, and it is fascinating. And you obviously lean more to a Slavic culture background. My question is, before we go into the deeper thing, is like, what do you prefer? Do you like that culture? Because it's not just like, oh, this is just who I'm around. That's it. It's
Mm.
like you obviously can see different perspectives now, and I want to kind of understand your psychology beneath it of like what dynamic do you prefer and why do you prefer it that way? Why do you like it that way?
Yeah, I think I lean more into the Slavic culture now because just being around like these friends has influenced me. So my philosophy is I like the man to pay when we're in the dating phase. And then when we're in a relationship, I have that emotional safety, psychological safety. And then it would be more based on like who earns more, that kind of thing. But usually, even in a relationship, I would probably expect the man to pay the majority, but then I would pay some of it. So that's kind of my philosophy. Like, I would still want to work. Like, I wouldn't ever want the man to pay for everything. I wouldn't ever want to be like a kept woman in that way. But yeah, I think especially during the dating phase, for me, it's really important to have the man court me. And I think that's a key part of like why that mindset for me is important because it's not just about the money. I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. Like people think like this, for example, the Slavic mindset is just because you want to just have a guy pay for everything, but it's not that. Like whenever I've dated guys that have that mindset, they'll be very caring. Like they'll be very chivalrous. They'll look after you. Like the recent men I dated in the last year or so, where I had success dating in Spain, have been so chivalrous, so courteous, so like for example, I dated a guy like 2 or 3 times and he was like helping me move house, like he got me a plant when I moved in. He was like carrying all my stuff. We drove to IKEA to buy like stuff for the house. Like he had a business like with interior decorating and like redesign of houses and like construction. So when I moved into my new flat, he just walked around my flat and looked at things and he was like, "I'm gonna fix this for you. Like this sink is a bit off. I'm just gonna fix this for you. I'm bringing my tools next time." And then he
Mm.
looked at the TV stand had these like wobbly legs. And he looked at that. He was like, "No, no, no, this is not safe. Like I'm gonna bring you from IKEA like some of the legs next time, and I'll put it for you." And just stuff like this. Like I didn't even have to ask him. Like he was just walking around
Mm.
and being like, let me fix this for you. Let me, like when I was sick, he would always bring me stuff. He'd be like, I would never have to ask. He'd be like, what can I bring you? Like, do you need this? Do you need that? Like, can I bring you some medicine? Can I bring you some food? And I find that often, like, again, it's not like 100% correlation, but I find that often the men that are not the 50-50 men will have that mindset of caring, nurturing for you. And the 50-50 men, in my experience, have been very stingy. Like, I recently, not just stingy in money, but stingy in like their care, their attention, their affection, their time. That's what I found. So, like recently I
Mm.
dated a guy that was like very 50-50. And I think for the first couple of days he paid. And then after that we started to have these conversations. And then I noticed other things of like he would complain about how he had to drive to me, for example. And I would date other guys for months who would also drive like 20, 30 minutes to come to me and never mentioned it once. And this guy
Mm.
was already counting it, already mentioning it on the third date of being like, I actually have to drive like 30 minutes for you and like this and that. And when I was sick, I asked him to like help pick up some painkillers for me. Again, I never had to ask. Bearing in mind, like other guys, I never had to ask. So I asked him to help, like, because he was driving. I was like, on the way, can you pick up these like painkillers? Because my stomach was in pain. And then he didn't do it. He was like, oh no, I'm already here. He said he would, and then he was like, oh, actually, I'm already downstairs. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we can go on the way then. And then we stop at a pharmacy, and I'm sat there like looking at him like you said you would go, right? And I'm in pain. And then he's like, oh, well, you're on the side that's closest to the pharmacy. Because I was on that side of the road. And then I had to go
What?
and get them. This is what I mean, though. Like, it's not for me about the money. Like, it's about the mindset that people have. And I've dated very rich guys that have a stingy mindset. I've dated guys that did not make a lot of money that had a very sort of nurturing, caring mindset and would be happy to pay, would be happy to look after me, care for me, that kind of thing. So the reason I'm for this is because those two things go hand in hand in my experience. And again, I'm not saying this is all men. I'm not saying this is everyone, but just the experience that I've had,
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed. So that's the reason that I have
Mm.
this mindset now. But I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, also as a woman who has dated men, I think what women are craving, I think, in this kind of like modern dating age is the mix between chivalrous and just kind of leadership, but also there's like I don't know how to describe it, but I think what happens is people either try it, they see it as a very binary thing. It's like you either get chivalrous, but you have to kind of have traditional values with that, or you get the 50-50 fluid kind of back and forth of leadership between you, but it's at the cost of, you wanted this feminist kind of setup, this equal setup, therefore you've got to pick yourself up and sort your shit out and also be the leader. But I think, yeah, I think it speaks actually back to what we were talking about in a previous episode of like it being a very male or a female thing. It's a very binary, like traditional or modern. It's like, I think what women are craving, like I say, is that kind of mix of, yes, you respect me as a, somebody who brings money into the house, somebody who has their own wants and needs and ambitions in life, but you also, open the car door for me and you buy me flowers on, Valentine's Day and all that kind of stuff. And the expressions of love and care and affection tend to be missing, I think, from those like 50-50 relationships. Although I'm on that side of, I think we need 50-50, I see it from the way you're describing it is like you either have to slot into one or the other. And I think that's where my nuances come in from my perspective. I think, why do we have to settle for one or the other? Why can't we have men out there that are, in touch with their feminine side and in touch with their masculine side, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, Jake, your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I've been more of a backseat listening so far in this episode, and you're kind of answering the questions slash insecurities as they appear, which is interesting, and I hope the audience also gets that as they listen to it. How you describe it makes a lot more sense. When people push back against it, and when I've pushed back against it in the past, it has been keywords around transactional, entitlement, lack of gratitude, and like, oh, and maybe you can say it reinforces when you talk about those traditional values. It's like an alarm went off for me, because if you're talking about a modern feminist trait, the whole point is deconstructing traditional values of nuclear family, having financial dependency on someone, that kind of stuff. But then when you talk about, it's not necessarily just that they pay, it's how it represents their character behind it. That starts to make more sense to me. Whereas beforehand, it would be, oh, well, I put my makeup on and I said yes to you, therefore you should pay for me at the end of it. I've heard stories from my guy friends and my girlfriends, where they've been on various dates, and you'll see some not like horror stories, but really awkward interactions. Like I've had a friend go to a restaurant and they're ordering stuff, and then she'll order really expensive stuff.
Mhm.
And he also wasn't, it's not like he wasn't fully into it, but it wasn't a good date, and they were like, we're not really compatible, and I wasn't really enjoying it. She was a bit nasty, a bit mean, just not my kind of person. And the bill goes down on the table, and she's just kind of like looking at him to pay.
Oh.
And he was like, usually he does, like 95% of the time he does, but he was like, I really don't like you as a person. So he forced the split, and she was horrified. And those were the reasons that she brought up. It was like, I made the effort, I gave you my time, I said yes, all this kind of stuff. And for me, it's kind of like, oh, that feels a little bit one-sided or a little bit transactional. But again, if you look at the deeper character behind that, I think that's the important thing. And one of my guy friends said to me, which really helped me understand this perspective better, was if you ask someone out, and I think it's probably a bridge to another question, if you ask someone out, you're facilitating the environment for the date, and part of facilitating that environment should be you paying. And you do have control over what that is. You can decide on, oh, you can either go to a really expensive place, or you can do something that's a little cheaper, a bit more moderate. Like, you're only just getting to know this person. It doesn't have to be 5-star dinners, that kind of stuff. But it is like, these questions all kind of make sense, but I'm curious what would happen if it flipped on its head. Like, I went on some dates earlier this year, and she asked me out, and then I paid on the date. And we had a conversation about this prepping for the episode. And she said, oh, I'm really sorry that I didn't pay because I asked you. And I was like, regardless of if you asked me or not, like, we know full well that I would pay her at least 50-50. There's no way. And I think the vast majority of men would not let a woman pay. So it's kind of that equality argument of, if our pitches are both of you, obviously it's different in the Slavic culture. If you're like, I really like this person, I need to ask them out, and you do ask them out,
That's the
would you
thing.
pay
Well,
realistically?
you never would ask, like, the woman would never ask out a man in Slavic culture. That's the thing. Like, that's what I'm sat here thinking. Like, and actually, I agree with you. Like, if the woman asked the man out, then the woman should pay. Then the woman should organize, actually, which is kind of crazy for me to say. Then if the woman's like making that effort, but that's why I don't make the first move, like, partly. Like, I would like the man to pursue me, I would like the man to facilitate the date, plan it, etc. And then part of that is paying. Like,
Can I ask a question in this flow? Do you ever feel like you've missed out for not asking someone out?
I was about to ask that. Like, what if you just pass ships in the night because you're like, I was gonna say on your high horse, but no, not quite.
No, I mean, thanks, Jake. It's just, I think it's, no, I don't think it's about being on a high horse. I think it's just like, I'm really like shy and awkward. Like, if I like a guy, I just could never like.
But you're not. I see you as such a confident person. I mean,
but with guys, like, I'm like this. Like, I will like someone in the gym, for example, and I'll like try and smile at them, and I'll see them looking at me, and then I'll be like,
yeah, Nina, can you run us through what your move is in the gym if you like someone? Is it?
I don't do anything. I have no move, Jake. That's the point.
You don't
I have
do
no
anything.
move.
There's not even like an eyebrow or an eye contact.
I don't do anything. I like look at them briefly, and then I'm like,
ignore them. How is he not like? There's so many memes of this where it's like the girl made the first move, and it's just like,
yeah, literally, just like I don't do any. It's so bad. No, but that's a me thing. Like, that's a me thing. Like, I wish I was more confident in that way, and I'm trying to work on it and be like smiling, initiating eye contact, saying hey and stuff like that if I like someone. But I think that maybe that's part of the Slavic conditioning, that I'm just so like, the man should always make the first move. Like, if the man doesn't make the first move,
what about if
not
the
that
guy
into
is
me.
shy? It's not like because you talk about there is
Yeah.
a spectrum of the entire
course.
gender of men. You're going to
Yeah.
have confident men. You're going to have unconfident men.
I feel like, Nina, you wouldn't gravitate towards someone who's shy, because you need that lead of like coming from his side. Sorry,
It
is that right?
depends. Like, very rarely, I think there has been moments in my life where I have made the first move, and I think, or like, I feel like I've been the one making more effort in the beginning in some format. Like, it might be like maybe he asked me on the first date, but then in general, like, I was the one planning things, like making way more effort in the beginning and like trying to nail things down, nail down a date, a time, for example. And always, like, those situations didn't really work out because the guy wasn't really that into me in that scenario. So
Yeah.
I think if the guy's into me enough, like, he'll make the first move. That's my mindset. And then the gym is a different scenario. Like, okay, the gym, like, lots of people don't approach the gym these days because of like,
Yeah.
they don't want to bother people. And I don't mind just sending the first message. Like, for me, that's not like, I'm not asking the guy
That's
out,
what I'm
for
talking about.
example.
But,
Like, I'm not
like,
asking the guy
sometimes-
out. I'm
Sure.
For
not
me,
like,
that's enough. Like, if
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, oh, at least I know they like me, and then I can take the lead from there. Sometimes that kind of works. I'm looking through my dating history, and it might be a similar thing of like, if they're the one always pushing or like creating that thing, whereas I'm the one who's always, if I'm leading or they're leading, basically, in simple terms, the one where I'm leading does become more successful than the one where I'm not leading. And I'm trying to cover it from an equality lens of, what if it is playing devil's advocate on every argument that we're saying, because we are kind of still facilitating 50/50 / man should pay if they facilitate the date, that kind of stuff. And maybe it's kind of like, I don't know why, but maybe it doesn't work if you just kind of slap an equality thing on it and be like, oh, well, if the woman asked, then therefore. But then we both just mentioned some, from our evidence of experiences, obviously not everything, but when I've been extremely interested, then it's easy to lead. Whereas if
Right.
I'm not as
Exactly.
interested, then yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, is it conflating the two together? Is it reinforcing those traditional values again and getting in dangerous waters of you say one thing and then reinforce the other? But that's what I'm trying to like put into the open, because I'm anticipating what some of our red pill lover comments are looking for.
All right, that's it for today's chaos. Thanks for joining us in the Trauma Agora.
If you can relate, make sure you hit follow, send it to your mate who really needs to hear it, and come and find us on socials for some extra nonsense.
We'll be back in 2 weeks. Same vibes, new existential crisis. See you then.